Hello everyone, and welcome to the brand new episode of VHS Showdown.
Hello.
Hello.
I'm Murph.
I'm Toby.
I'm Alan.
And I'm Lee.
And together we form VHS Showdown. Like Voltron.
You've been working on your own.
Nope, just made it up. Cool, so we like to delve each week into classic 80s films and some which aren't classic. Hidden gems, forgotten video nasties.
What is a video nasty?
Like a sort of low budget horror film from the
Is
80s.
it?
Yeah, that's what I believe.
Would you class Child's Play 3? Because that got banned, didn't it?
It's got
Is that the
Yeah,
video
yeah,
nasty?
Evil Dead, anything like that.
I'd say it's got too much of a budget to be a video nasty.
Yeah, well, it was banned though, wasn't it? That was the only reason why.
Like Cannibal Holocaust.
Cannibal Holocaust.
Brain Dead would be a video nasty, wouldn't it, I guess? Anyway, we digress.
Again.
So this week's film was picked by Tarby, and you were given the randomly generated year of...
1987.
Yes, and what an absolute bumper year that was. I bet you were spoilt for choice.
Well, you know, same as every other year in the 80s, really, I think. It's not getting any easier for me because it seems the later you go in the 80s, the better the films get. So
Do they get closer to the 90s?
They do.
They're further away from the 70s.
Yeah.
Yes.
This is how it works. And
Time.
so, yeah, time. And yeah, 87, again, a really, really tough year to pick from, but we went for The Secret of My Success.
Yes.
Yes.
So why did you pick it, Tom?
Well, as I spent a bit of time in the end of the last show, before I picked it, I tried to give a brief explanation, but basically, the films in 87, you just have a look at the list yourself. If you're an 80s fan, there's not going to be a film on there you don't know, and each one is better than the last. And this film, I remember it from my childhood, and I remember watching it time and time again, but I haven't watched it for probably 10 years. And it had good memories, and I remember it never being, it was never like a cinema film, or if it was, I certainly didn't hear about it. It was kind of just one of those films that...
It was on telly a lot, wasn't
Yeah,
it?
and it just had good memories, and I was like, you know what, let's see how it stood up.
Cool.
So, yeah, went into it with the good memories.
Cool, what about you, Al?
We had it on VHS. I remember it floating around the house.
Fucking hell.
Haunted.
Jesus.
Not in a
What?
Spectre way, like.
Was it
just
pipes?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Pipes. Yeah, no, fantastic. Yeah, remember it well. I did actually watch it recently within like the last year as well, so I was like, it was quite nice.
What film have you not watched in the last year? Maybe we should do a documentary about that.
I would probably say like 99.9% of films ever made I haven't watched in the last year.
So you're saying that there's room for improvement?
I mean, I've got a bit of wiggle room on what I can watch.
In the vast expanse of human creativity,
Yeah, yeah.
there's a few you didn't get through.
So was intrigued to look at it again.
And you, Lee?
I've never seen it, and I don't know anything about it.
You were aware of its existence?
I knew the name of it, and I knew Michael J. Fox was in it.
Yeah.
And that was it.
Okay. All right. Well, yeah. No, I was aware of it, like just from it being on TV. I think Saturday afternoon TV sort of films. Seems like they did repeat a lot of things like this, and obviously Michael J. Fox was always a good bet. So yeah, I remember seeing it as a kid. I haven't seen it in maybe 20 odd years. It would have been sort of mid-90s probably last time I saw it. So it's been a good while.
Good long rest.
Yeah, but it is one of the ones. Obviously, no Michael J. Fox. Back to the Future, Frighteners, and then after that, this is probably one of the ones that was quite up there for me. Doc Hollywood, this.
Teen Wolf.
Teen Wolf, of course!
I want to talk about this more as we get into it.
We should let you get into it. So, Tom, do you want to give us a brief run of what the story is?
Would love to, Tone. So, very quickly, the film sets the pace. It's Michael J. Fox, obviously the lead character in this. He's joined by Helen Slater as the female lead, so Supergirl herself.
Oh, fuck, I didn't realise that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Used to have a bit of a crush on her when I was little.
She had a weird look. She looked like a grown-up woman.
She looked like a 45-year-old woman in this,
and in
didn't she?
Supergirl as well, her face,
Yeah.
it was like girl, very loose,
She looked
very
like-
loose
she
use
looked
of
like
the word.
Princess Di.
Yeah.
Yeah, very regal. Yeah.
I didn't realise her. I found her very attractive in Supergirl when I was a kid. If I remember. Very strange film, that, though. It's very strange.
Supergirl.
Maybe
Yeah.
we should revisit it at some point. Visited it.
Easy for you to say. So it sets the pace. You see Michael J. Fox. He's living on a farm with his parents. He's getting stuck into baling some hay and doing some straw.
But he ain't afraid of hard work.
No, this boy knows.
grafter.
He's in there. He knows what he's doing. And then he's talking to his mum, telling her how much he dreams of moving to the city, becoming a big executive.
And they're like proper hillbillies, aren't they?
they are.
Really
They're well, he's in
stereotypical.
Kansas, isn't he? He's a proper farmer.
Fantastic tune as well.
The secret to my success.
Yeah.
The secret of my success is I'm
It's
was going to download it until I realised it was written specifically, and that was the hook.
It's a good soundtrack throughout, to be fair, isn't it? There is a couple of...
it's mad 80s. I mean, there's Walking on Sunshine was like, oh, that's cool,
And of course, like, it's later in the film, but boom, boom, boom.
Yeah, I mean, brilliant use of all the music in there. I mean, good tunes in a film, you don't really notice them, they just make the film better. And if you stop to listen again, then you're like, oh, that was that tune. But this film just worked throughout for me. It was
there's some utter shit in there as well.
Yeah, I think that secret to my success dates the film really badly.
The opening montage with the music, and when it's like spliced with all the like the New York shit or whatever, like, my fucking god, that is the most 80s thing.
Well, I mean,
like, it's just mad.
You get punks, don't you? You get some
power
sort of
dressing and shit.
Yeah, you get like a group of black guys sort of dressed a bit like sort of stereotypical pimps or something like that. But he's very.
When I was a kid
cliche.
though, when I was like maybe 10, openings like this made me convinced I was going to live in America. I was going to move to America. Like things like this, Beverly Hills Cop, Cocktail, Trading Places. Like they open up and you're like, look at these massive buildings and all those cool things. And it was like, I'm going to move to America. It's like, thank fuck I didn't.
Well, it is that whole film is that yuppie dream, isn't it? That's what the whole sort of thing's about.
Yeah.
You know, the small town Kansas boy going to the big city and doing well. It's the American dream.
And that's it doing its job. You know, it captivated me. You know, so even the pictures I saw made me want to be there. So it was kind of like in the film, there's usually somebody trying to climb the ladder or make their way, and so, you know, obviously the way they're setting it up, like I said, I wanted to go and be a businthman in New York. I was like,
were you like a young man in Hereford doing a similar sort of thing? You know, shoveling hay and telling your parents you're going to move to New York. Was it very much like that?
I think I told my dad I was going to get married and live in the utility room when I was 5. I had big plans.
Anyway, so back to the story then.
So, turns out that Michael J. Fox's character, Brantley Foster is his name.
His shit name.
It is terrible, but so bad it's believable.
It's his powerful name. You're going to remember it, aren't you?
It sounds more like a jock, doesn't it? Like,
yeah, I don't know, but either way, it
Brantley's
worked.
neck in a kegger.
It was better than being like Blaze Steel.
I mean, that would be fucking amazing if he was called Blaze Steel.
His name Brantley Foster. I've never heard of another Brantley in my life.
No, I haven't actually.
Brantley, yeah.
So yeah, his mum is related in a very tenuous way to some guy who's a big shot in New York. She gives him his details. He goes to New York. Turns out the job he'd applied for and got has gone. So he tries knocking on a few other doors.
He doesn't get the job he wants, so he's in dire straits, isn't he? He's got no money and life's all shit. But he goes to ring his mum from the payphone. But this is a really weird scene because I felt like it should have been really funny, but it was filmed in a really odd way, so it just felt odd. So while he's on the phone to his mum, he's trying to tell her that everything in New York's fine and it's a nice place because she thinks it's a big bad city. And there's literally a shootout.
It's crime.
And yeah, there's gunshots and just some lady running around.
I mean, during the last seconds of the phone call, the glass next to his head shatters. A bullet goes past his head. I mean, that's got to be worth an inquiry.
Well, I thought the last part of that scene, the policeman shot that dude in the face. That's what I thought happened. Because he was point blank and fucking shot. The window shattered, and then I thought he was arresting like a corpse. Maybe his tits.
It's very weird, and Michael J. Fox doesn't quite get panicked enough by it, I don't think. And it's filmed in such a weird way. It's like all the shots of like the guys having the shootout, and then just Michael J. Fox. But there wasn't like a wide or establishing shot where they had the guys and Michael J. Fox in the background, so you could really put the two of them together. So it felt very weird. That bit. It wasn't as funny as it should have been.
No, it was disjointed, but I think the premise of him like handling this shootout okay was again setting his demeanour. He's a
cool customer, isn't he?
Yeah, he can handle himself, and he's, you know, if he can handle being in the middle of a shootout when he's just moved from a farm, then he can probably handle New York.
And what did you all think of Michael J. Fox in this?
Well, he's fucking Michael J. Fox in every film he's
good,
in, isn't he?
He is. He carries this film.
He's just Michael J. Fox.
If it was any other actor, I think I wouldn't have enjoyed it as much.
I think every time I see him now, I just think like it's such a shame that he wasn't Spider-Man. Every time I watched him in this, it's like, fuck me, he would be so good at Peter Parker.
He would.
Because you know what he's got?
Panache.
No.
Parkinson's.
Yeah, I can't remember. But it's his trait. He's the king of like turning around and looking like he's about to do something and then leaving it. And either he taps a wall or he does something with his arm, and it's a really good mannerism. And I don't know if it's something he does in real life, but he turns around and it's like,
he's very physical, isn't he?
When did you become the physical type?
but just in that one way, and it sets him apart from everybody else. It's either a tick or a method he uses. I don't know.
Was it the beginning of Parkinson's?
Well,
Interesting.
maybe. I did watch an interview with him when he talked about that, and obviously it wasn't really until sort of Spin City sort of era that it started to become quite noticeable, wasn't it? But
Yeah.
I don't know if it was as early as 86 or whenever they filmed this, but he did used to say that when he had the urge to move, he would just put it into his performance. That's why a lot of the time, if you watch Spin City, he's always moving. So it's highly possible that was potentially part of it. I mean, he is incredibly charismatic.
He is.
Michael J. Fox. You can't help but like it because he is a bit creepy in this film.
This whole film is a bit rapey.
It
Well,
is.
we're going to get to that in a minute, aren't we? I guess. But he gets away with it because of his charisma, doesn't he?
Yeah.
So he's got The Frighteners was in 1996, Teen Wolf in 1985, Mars Attacks in 96. But then he's done things like a film that I've seen and I absolutely love, but called Greedy. Have you ever heard of it?
No.
I've never even heard of it.
Exactly.
Is he a yuppie in that as well?
No, completely random.
Is he a big fat man?
No. And then
Marty McPie.
But other than that, because of Back to the Future and like Teen Wolf, if you think about his other films that he's done, the films are quite mediocre. But it's not a film, it's a film about him.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And it's kind of like Teen Wolf and that, they're brilliant new concepts. But, you know, Mars Attacks, he's a reporter, he's a very sort of B player in that film, but he plays the part well.
He's a very
But
good
the-
leading man, isn't he? In the 80s as well. He's brilliant.
I did find through some of it though that I was getting a little bit sick of his shit, because for me he's got like one way of acting. Like,
He's Michael J. Fox,
Yeah,
isn't he?
yeah.
You know,
And like, I don't know whether or not it's quite difficult to sort of like distance him from the whole sort of Marty McFly, because Back to the Future is obviously, you know, it's just a massive, it's just what it is. And like the amount of times obviously you watch Back to the Future, I don't know, I found it difficult after a while to sort of like, it just felt like I was watching Marty McFly still.
You could say the same with Bruce Willis or Sean Connery or
Yeah.
Arnold Schwarzenegger, do you know what I mean? Or,
Jack Nicholson.
yeah, you know, you get these actors who do,
yeah.
they play themselves, but they play themselves so well, you're willing to go and watch it.
And I think it's
in
just
different
because
scenarios, aren't
he's got those youngish looks, though. He's like a different generation doing it.
Yeah.
Although he's not that much younger or something, you know. But when I was a kid, Bruce Willis was quite an old man.
Yeah,
Michael
yeah,
J.
yeah,
Fox
yeah.
felt closer to my age.
Yeah.
What was he, 26 in this? I think?
Yeah,
But he looked like a kid, didn't
But he
he?
looked like 18, 19.
Well, he was 24, wasn't he? I think he says. But anyway, so an example of his charisma, he goes to this interview at Procter and whatever it is, the big business thing.
Big business.
And so he does a big rousing speech, doesn't he? Where he kind of wins the guy over. He's like, "You were hungry like me," and all this sort of stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's how he kind of gets the job in the mailroom.
His boss, that was the first time I laughed properly during the film. His boss, you call me God. That's
He was
real.
great, the bloke who played that.
He got quite farcical towards the end of the film.
He was like an old battered fucking police sergeant, when he, or police chief, when he like he's taking no shit.
Well, he was drinking a bud at fucking work. Do you know what I mean? This is how 80s it was. Imagine you just rocked up to the office and
Drinking a bud, smoking a fag at your desk.
shouting at people. So, you know what I mean? He'd be at HR within a minute.
So he starts delivering mail around the building, very quickly picks up the round, and obviously, you know, he's way too clever to just be delivering mail. He spots that a gentleman has, the backstory is from it's a comedy cohort, isn't it? A guy called Melrose. Like, you know,
He's got some good shirts.
Yeah, I
He's
fully
admiring his
appreciate him.
shirts all the way through that.
Is he in anything else?
I don't think so.
'Cause he was quite good in
But,
this.
he probably is, but nothing. But even this is a bit under the radar.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
Chewing gum, cigarette behind the ear, flowery shirt.
greased back hair.
Yeah.
Headphones in.
Yeah,
like
he's
80s fun boy.
yeah, he's a dude.
Oh, he likes
He's
to
a dude.
party.
He does, yeah.
He,
yeah. But
he would toot the root after work.
blue collar, sort of laid back. Kind of guy you'd like to go for a beer with.
He looked like Bruce Springsteen. You know,
He did.
He
Yeah.
did, yes. Yeah,
he
yeah.
had a real look about him. So Melrose sets up in his little explanation that there's so many suits in this building that none of them know what each other do.
Yes.
So
30,000 people in the building.
exactly, that's a lot.
30,000
That's what he
people in
said.
that
That's what
building.
he built.
That's fucking a lot of people.
I mean,
That's big
I am
potatoes.
sceptical whether you can get 30,000 people into a building.
That's
Oh
a
no,
lot.
you can. We're talking Twin Towers sort of size.
And he doesn't like suits.
But anyway,
He
the point
repeatedly
is- No, he
says
doesn't like
bloody
suits.
suits.
But he's salt of the earth, blue collar.
He don't want
worker,
those
innit?
suits.
It's a diamond in the rough.
He is.
Oh.
He is. It's the 80s. It's the age of the yuppies, isn't
We
it?
ain't
You know?
talking to no suits. You don't talk to the suits.
So we've set up that there's a lot of people in this building and nobody knows who each other are and what each other do. So yeah, he's wandering around the building with Melrose, learning his mail route, and he discovers a chap who's just been fired, and therefore his office becomes vacant. And
This is quite clever, this, I thought.
Yeah. And so basically, he happens to answer a random phone call that comes from a guy who's got a deal in the pipeline who needs permission from the person who's normally in this office.
Yes and no, but he's been getting information from all these letters that he's been mailing. He's been reading them all, hasn't he, and finding out how the
Well,
company works
is that
first.
established how long he's there doing it.
Well, he's doing it for like a fucking couple of days.
and he's pretty sharp, isn't he?
I mean,
so he picks it up.
After a couple of days, he's
the thing
rooting
is,
through
Melrose-
every file, and he is like streamlining the fucking business.
But Melrose does actually date this, thinking about it, because when they go to this guy's office, he said the mailroom knew about this on Friday. He only found out about it today, so that's a Monday. So he hasn't been there that long figuring
but he's
this
a
all
sharp
out.
guy, isn't he?
This is what you're led to believe, isn't it? Yeah,
He's picking it up. So he does some sort of like mega deal on the phone. It's like, oh, he's his first dip into business, but really he just tells the bloke to like, oh, if I can tell him we'll go somewhere else. And the bloke's like, oh, good idea, man. And he puts the phone down. It's like, well, you could have thought of that.
He was so happy as well when he put that phone down, wasn't he? He was like,
he
double fist bumping and all sorts of shit.
You like a bit of double
I mean,
fist
he's
bumping?
now
now and again.
He's now got motive and opportunity. He just needs the means, Alan.
But he wants to make it on his own.
Oh, he does.
Oh yeah, but he says quite a few times in the film he's
On
gonna
his
do it
own dime, like-
doesn't
Oh,
he?
he's-
on
yeah.
his own steam.
Yeah.
His own old work. But it's kind of like he meets his love interest.
There's that
Yeah,
bizarre
weird.
montage.
It's weird.
odd as shit.
Drinking out of the fountain.
Yeah, well, the director, I swear, is obsessed with lips because he's got a shot on her lips, and then later on you got the other woman. There's a shot on her lip. Throughout the film, there's women's lips.
It's
like
very
close
odd.
ups.
It's
Odd.
that shot, especially it's like cuts away to some abstract fucking.
Her
it's
walking
like,
through a thing.
Yeah. It's like fucking Wayne's World. Like, dream.
Yeah,
But
it's
it's
bizarre.
odd.
It is odd, but yeah, a real close up of lips drinking water. Like
I never thought about that at all. I just thought it was very quickly getting to the point. He's in love.
But it's like if you took the music off that and just watched it in sight, it'd be weird as shit because he's just like staring at her.
I thought exactly.
He's just like a stalker. It's just like fucking the thing we watched last week. Fucking
Somewhere in
time.
love.
Yeah,
How
yeah.
dare you forget?
It's like 80s love stories are just like the bloke will fucking mad dog the woman, stare her down like in a creepy way.
This is looking at all of the like love interests for a lot of these 80s films. I don't know whether or not you could do it now. It's so weird.
the bloke's like, I want to get on you. The woman's like, no. He's like, come here. And they're like, okay then.
He's got this apartment where his neighbours continually have sex,
Yes,
and
well,
again, he starts eventually conducting them, and the climax happens when he opens the beer.
Don't say climax.
This is the
gotta
whole
say-
weird
That's
thing
the
about the
whole thing.
film. It's very
It's-
odd. I'm not a prude, but it's very unnecessarily sexual. The whole way through. I don't remember it being like
it
that.
was like a fucking.
It was like Porky's or something.
It was like a carry-on film. It was really weird.
Yeah.
It was
But
like.
it felt really shoehorned in all these sexy
Yeah,
bits.
yeah,
I watched this when I was like 6 or something. I didn't pick up on any of this.
I do remember him conducting the sex, but I don't remember him picking up a rolling pin, right? I mean, the thing is, you can forgive that there's a wall between them because the guys would be like, oh, it's all right, you can't hear us. But at one point, he taps the rolling pin and they go silent, so they know he's listening. Like,
Maybe that adds an extra something.
But it just makes the whole scene that little bit more seedy for me now. It's like, Jesus.
Yeah, now this is where it starts getting creepy.
Yeah, it's a little bit weird.
Get a car and take the boss's wife home.
It's very odd because like
She's gearing up to bang him. It was
well,
very early on.
But to start,
And-
she's a real twat to him, isn't she?
is.
She's like, shut that fucking window or whatever, and he's
But
like,
he,
oh,
he
sorry.
stands up, not stands up to it, but he's not backing down, is he? He
said
comes
she's
at
fit.
it again.
He
Yeah.
puts on some Kansas charm, doesn't he?
gives-
Some country boy sort of charm to her.
Also, that whole thing in the limo as well. Like, if you notice, there's like obviously she's getting
I know
wetter
where
and
you go. I
wetter.
know where you're going with this. The symbolism of the wipers.
Yeah. So
Yes,
so
it's very
there's a
phallic,
Point, there's a
everything
point
in
where the
this.
fucking aerial goes up.
Yeah.
Right,
To,
so the
to
locks-
symbolise his penis.
The locks
becoming
go on
erect.
and off like they're banging.
Yeah,
And
oh,
then
yeah.
at the end, the windscreen wipers go off like he's blown his beans in his pants.
Obviously, he bangs that woman that takes him back, and then it turns out
Well, it's Anti-Vera, yeah.
Annie Vera.
it's his Auntie Vera, and obviously she is married to the guy that hired him. Even when the auntie like bangs him, it's very like, well, you know, she's ripping his pants off. He's telling her no, and this is like, it's like this isn't okay. Do you know what I mean? There's so much of this film is odd, and you're not like.
I don't understand how they can be his auntie and uncle, and yet neither one of them is related to him.
Well, they're not.
They're not
They're
really.
like distant cousins, aren't they? A distant auntie and uncle, and like only one of them would be related by blood, even if they were close, wouldn't they?
I mean, it would be a tenuous connection. I wouldn't give him a job based on that relationship. I'd be like, yeah, no.
Well, they didn't exactly. You know, he put him in the mailroom, didn't he? You know what I mean? He didn't make him.
Okay, yeah, no, fair.
Just to tie it in with all the other episodes, when they are in the limousine,
Yeah.
he's giving her a lift
Yeah.
to where she wants to go. She's got a rather fetching hat,
She does, quite
which
nice
has
hat.
no top.
Have you ever seen these
like a
before?
visor.
Like your hair.
She's got no hat to it, but a giant visor. She looks like fucking Saturn.
Still Pfizer Sozo.
Yeah.
Al's weekly hat watch.
But yeah, to bring it right back up to the present minute, Michael J. Fox manages to wheedle his way into what appears to be a board of like 12 people, the main key people. The uncle from Home Alone,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah,
who's
Yeah. Oh, you're cooking.
Look what you did, you little jerk.
he's a bit more forgettable in this one, but he's still great.
He's great in the Home Alone films.
Oh, he is, yeah. So basically, he's the boss's number 2, and he's very weaselly and grassy. He quickly stops Michael J. Fox and says, "Who are you?" And you're like, "Oh, you're fucked, mate." And he just says, "Carlton Whitfield, new employee." And this seems to appease the guy. And he's like, "Okay, take a seat. You know, I didn't get the memo. I'll sort you one." Okay. And all of a sudden, he's like sat around his table of big wigs. He suddenly managed, out of 30,000 people, he's found the big 12 players.
Well, there's another
just sat down.
smooth bit he does, isn't there? When the one guy's like, when he reveals that he's read the report, doesn't he? He's like, "Oh, Johnson, or whatever, you wrote that report and it's amazing." He's like, "Well, how do you know? No one's read that." And he's like, "Who else could have done it?" And he really gets his...
Just covers it completely, yeah.
Yeah, so he is quite a smooth operator in this, isn't he? And the bird is there, his love interest, isn't it?
Yeah.
She is.
Well, this is the thing. To his uncle, he is Brantley Foster. And to everybody else, he's assumed the identity Carlton Whitfield. His uncle doesn't know that he's Carlton, and the rest of the people don't know that he's Brantley.
So he continues this dual identity, doesn't he? And he kind of...
charade.
Farcical charade.
This is where the film picks up pace.
It does. This he really got into gear now, didn't it? And a lot of the comedy does come from, you know, he's down in the mail room, he's dressed in his normal clothes, and him having to get changed into his yuppie suit, and then go and pretend to be, what was his name, Colin?
Is it you that didn't watch it this time?
I'm blagging it.
You're doing very
Carlton.
well. Carlton Whitfield.
Yeah. So and all that stuff's really funny, I think, when he's getting in the elevator and all that.
Some of it.
Oh.
Did you notice the guy who fixes the elevator is?
Yeah.
The bloke out of Ace Ventura.
Yes, Satan.
He's in loads of bit parts, but he's always really quiet, really background bit.
He's the guy in Breaking Bad that
Yeah.
blows up the fucking ding 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 ding.
Oh, the fuck. Yeah, shit. Of
The
course
old
he is.
dude,
Yeah.
yeah.
Fucking hell. Wow. Amazing. Yeah, I didn't realise that at the time.
So basically he has some funny moments. He keeps getting caught by his newly acquired secretary, basically in some sort of state of with his kit off, and so he's having to explain what. Anybody find the muscle pose and the lift funny?
That was funny. Yeah,
I thought that was quite good.
Yeah.
That's the bit that I always remember from being on the advert as a kid. So whenever it was going to be on TV...
You thought you'd remember that bit.
That's it. This I gotta see.
That's what he was watching on his own.
The way he picks up his secretary is quite good, isn't it? Because he knows he needs one. Because he's in the mailroom, he writes these fake memos to different people, and he can sort of fabricate the whole thing really well.
Yeah,
so he
it's
can
all
kind
right.
of get whatever he wants, can't he? He gets the office done up, and
Yeah, and it becomes pretty much a mecca for anybody who really wants to know how it's done. He's got like charts everywhere. He knows what's going on.
I suppose he can buy himself a bit of time, can't he? By chucking the fucking memos back and forwards and all that.
But this
he's
is
committing fraud.
yeah.
Oh, I mean, he would be arrested.
Yes.
Yeah, that's basically the crux of the film then. It's cat and mouse, but his uncle doesn't know who he's chasing. Basically, the company that he's now working for is also ripe for a hostile takeover from a rival company.
From Herman Munster.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, Munsters Inc. wants to take it over.
Sometimes dead is better.
Basically, the boss, Mr. Prescott, thinks that Brantley might be a cuckoo in the nest, a plant from the rival company, trying to figure out how they do things. While his uncle's going about it the wrong way, he wants to downsize. Brantley thinks that they should upsize. So there's ongoing battle. Just as everybody's about on side, he manages to convince his love interest to change her mind.
It turns out that Michael J. Fox's love interest is actually seeing the boss.
Oh
yeah, of course.
yeah. They're having an affair, aren't they? Yes.
Like, so again, he's aware she's seeing somebody, but she hasn't told him who.
Yeah.
So it's all like, ooh.
Yeah, they finally go out on a date, don't they? Him and his love interest. After a bit of fucking schmoozing and shit, they go out.
And he's throughout it very creepy and a bit odd.
Oh, he's the ultimate sleaze, isn't he?
He
He's
is
a
very
sleaze
sleazy.
ball or a sleazeoid, if you will.
Like at one point, she's like talking, and he just like fucking goes in on her, and he's like, he's tonguing her or whatever, and like it comes out of nowhere, and it's weird. It's weird.
And his auntie can't get enough. She wants some more.
She's after that dick.
She is.
She wants the young boy dick.
And you know what bothers me most is how hard she's coming on to him in the office, and he's like, my uncle could come in at any time, and she's like, I don't care. He's trying to pull away from her, and he's like, please don't do this, and she's like, it'll be fine. And then when they get caught, she shits herself. It's like, that wasn't alright at all.
I mean, it's well sus, and I think the uncle lets it all slide way too easy. I'd have a load more questions, I think.
He knows.
Do you think he's
He
into
knows.
it?
I don't think he knows.
He knows. That's why later on he's saying about like keep her occupied. 'cause
Yeah,
he
yeah,
knows.
yeah.
He
Is that
wants
what we've
his nephew to bang his missus so that he can bang his
Well,
second.
they're
Yes.
all quite,
Yeah,
they're all
exactly.
quite
It's
swingery,
really
aren't they? I
weird,
think
isn't
there's
it? It's
something.
like-
He says to him at the party as well. He
keep
said,
her occupied. I didn't mean you mean
No,
bang
he
her.
was
I think
like,
he
she's
might
taking-
have
no, he doesn't.
Yeah.
He was like, she's taken a shine to you. She
Yeah.
likes
Yeah.
you.
I've got my
like,
reasons.
yeah,
I'm not,
yeah.
just I need you to,
He's not going to mind.
But no, he's well on board.
But anyways,
Can't believe that went over your head.
I'm obviously a real dick then, aren't I?
Real
Sorry.
He's a lights off missionary man. And so the boss then decides to sort of get all of his top execs out to his house over the weekend.
and they're there to discuss the hostile takeover and what they should do to mitigate it. But in the evening, it turns, like you said, into this carry-on sort of Benny Hill, but in a very odd way, sort of pervy sort of walking round the house, everyone's trying to get in each other's bed thing.
Well,
And it's just fucking odd.
So basically, you've got all of them in separate rooms. So you've got the boss and his wife. His wife fancies Brantley, so she wants to get with him. He wants to get with his love interest, who's also staying there. Well, she leaves her room, she hears somebody else and goes into the room of Frank from Home Alone.
Yeah.
He's like physically trying to rape her.
He's got no business.
Yeah, that's horrendous.
If he wasn't involved, it would make sense. It was just to bolster numbers, but it was fucking like, why are you?
Yeah.
Just because a woman was.
room and he's like, ugh.
I think that's
She wasn't
the weirdest
naked
bit,
looking
isn't
at him. She was like waiting at the door to leave, and he
with
gets
her back to him.
Yeah,
And
for him. He's like,
"Whoa."
hello. That was real sort of carry on.
That was, yeah.
It was like just because she's in there,
She's just there.
She's game for it. Like it's so well.
What
okay.
happened to him in the end of that? Now I can't remember because
He got
sort of-
fired,
didn't he?
I never saw it.
I did. No. The bit in that whole sort of scene, did he get knocked out or something?
He got his fingers slammed in the door.
did.
That was it.
Because he
yes.
went to grab her. Like,
Yeah, well, that's just odd.
But that
Yeah.
is just plain and simple. There's no point explaining it. That's how much the world's evolved. That was 1987. This was 2022. Now it seems foreign, doesn't it? But it's
Well-
like that's what the world was at a time like that.
It's like they had like a normal script, like an 80s sort of comedy sort of script, but they got like a sex offender to direct it or something. That's how it feels because they're all like, yeah, we're doing this film and he's a yuppie and he does all this, but then the director's like, yeah, we'll film a lips, yeah, and then we'll.
we need more fucking sex.
And then
we need more.
Yeah, and then we'll have the fucking the aerial on the cars going well. And it's like okay, it's just a bit weird.
It was odd, but it was there.
Okay, so they had this.
What can you do?
They had this swinger-esque scene where everyone got blue balls because nothing happened.
But then Marty McFly found out that his missus had been stealing his reports and feeding them to the boss early on.
Before they really got to know each other, she nicked a file and gave it to him, and it's the usual sort of. She tried to explain that she didn't feel about him that way then, and then you end up with this whole sort of circle of... Well, they're all in bed together, basically, apart from the boss's wife, aren't they? And it's a big sort of hoo-ha confrontation at the end. Mm-hmm. A very comical confrontation. I would have thought a punch or two might have been thrown, but no.
And Michael J. Fox meets all those old guys. She's like, come and meet these guys, and he's like talking to a couple of them. It's all like montage, and she's like nodding, and these old guys are nodding. And then people are like...
pulls out a calculator.
and then people from like the other side of the fucking park are seeing this like, so what's going on over there?
Yeah,
He's
so-
giving
so-
some TED talk at this fucking party. Like.
I was like, what the fuck? He must have been saying some fucking amazing shit.
He had his leg up on the fucking side as well, like he was super cash, but he was fucking.
He was holding
schmoozing.
court, wasn't he?
He was schmoozing the whole
holding
fucking
court.
crowd, like.
He was pitching him,
He
wasn't
won
he?
that Chihuahua over, didn't he? He was
Yeah,
that dog hated him, and then the next part of the montage, he's carrying
He
the
was
dog.
carrying it.
That's it.
And they did love a montage in this film.
They did.
Well, they got a lot of business done, I feel.
But the montage was like they were playing music over that, and I felt like I could probably do with hearing what he's saying in this, to be honest. I wouldn't mind hearing this pitch.
So you could apply it to your business.
I think the writer probably came down to do it. Thought, he's got to say this monumental speech about their business, turn all these guys around to invest in. Thought, fuck it, I'll just put music over it. And I don't have to write it then.
That's just lazy writing.
Yeah, literally.
Do you think that was weird, or do you think it was shit?
I think it's a bit shit, that bit. There's lots of bits like this where the directing, I think, lets it down a little bit.
I'm beginning to realise that this is kind of what makes it the kind of film it is. That kind of element, that almost laziness. If you can do it right, there is certain films that have done the same thing, and that's what made them. It's kind of what makes different types of music different. There's different types of film, like your action, your comedy, your rom-coms, and again, even of a certain era, a certain style of direction was used to sort of a montage will explain that. Unless it's a shit montage, what are you going to say? It's like, well, I understood what it was getting across, so...
Well, it worked, and you know what I mean? I think, even though I think it would have been better to have them talking, it's not the end of the world, that montage.
They certainly could have done half and half, like, or had it cut in and have everybody laughing, and then he'd be like... Yeah.
It is a very 80s thing, though, isn't it, a montage? Because you don't really get a lot of them now.
Yeah, no,
Not
absolutely.
enough. I'm a fan of a montage.
I feel like the montage might be gone.
Well, I mean, you got some great montage, Rocky 4.
I don't think you get a film made brand new that wasn't sort of like a Pride and Prejudice kind of thing that would use that now. You're not going to get it in.
Could you put a montage in a Marvel film?
Yes, there's like
pull it
tool-up montages. I'm trying to think, it's only full-on montages. More like tool-up scenes, isn't it? Like a montage of him, like, banging metal and that.
Oh.
Do you know what I mean? To making his suit. But anyway, we digress. What's the next step in the film?
They've been fired then, haven't they?
I cannot be fired. I'm fired.
Yeah.
How do you get fired in the
Because
end?
his uncle found out that he was fucking seeing his secretary, so he fired both of them, didn't he?
Oh, of course he did. Yeah, because that's weird. His uncle comes over and he's sat there drinking champagne, really, really flirting with her, and he's like, oh, yeah, keep an eye out for this other guy. It's like, well, hang on, he's really flirting with her.
But somebody directed him. They're like, he's like, sort of, have you seen Christie? And they're like, yeah, she's talking to Whitfield over there. He gets there and he's like, oh, he was just here.
Yeah. So then he realises that he's been like playing him for a fool.
A chump.
the whole way. So
like a fiddle.
Yeah.
So yeah, they've all been fired.
Michael J. Fox and his love interest argue a little bit because they're like, oh, you know, you're a bastard, and then they end up fucking banging in the lift. The guy's got a fascination with banging and lifts.
Yeah, he's really horny guy in this, isn't he?
And within like 2 minutes, they're like concocting some sort of plan to take over this multinational conglomerate, like just on the back of banging in a lift.
Do you get the whole vibe of this film? That it's got that whole like 80s yuppie. It's all about money and banging. Do you know what I mean? And there's a lot of that
the
feeling.
The only thing it's missing is cocaine.
It's not in the film because it's a family film. But if you had to think about it, he's probably clearly on cocaine the entire way throughout this film, isn't he? Really, it would explain a lot of it. I think it would definitely explain that one scene in the house if they were all on cocaine, especially the guy from Home Alone, the shit he was getting up to. But anyway, so they all get fired, but then he cracks a plan, doesn't he?
Well, it looks like the deal's going through, and they've just been told that their jobs are safe. Everybody else is getting fired, so everybody's celebrating. In comes bad news. Michael J. Fox, his auntie, his love interest, and of course Melrose all come in.
Would you promote him?
Well, he's wearing a suit now.
And he's got a little ponytail.
Well, I mean, would you promote him though? Because I don't think I would.
Well, he kind of helped him, didn't he?
He doesn't like suits.
No, but he's become the very thing he hates.
Exactly.
If you look at his sleeves, they were like very.
He had
they were 3/4 length. He was making a statement. He was saying, "I'll wear your suit, but I'm wearing it my way."
He was dealing coke. to everybody in that office, clearly. Fucking clear. Take one look at him. If you went back to the 80s and you saw him walking down the street, you'd be like, coke dealer. That guy is selling.
People like, excuse me, mate, have you...
He's been selling coke to what's his face in Die Hard. That's where he got it, some Peruvian flake or something.
So anyway, whether you'd employ him or not.
Shit, like the proper 80s shit. You know what I'm saying?
Wow.
Fucking rocket fuel, like.
Wow.
You know what I mean?
They did promote him and he was there. And
with some bags.
Yeah, he had his bag.
Allegedly.
Off camera.
He's just doing shitloads of fucking lines.
He's just smashing coke up his nostril. That's why he's been bullshitting everything. Oh yeah, fucking buy, sell, expand the fucking business.
He's actually sunk the company. But he's in such a fucking coked up haze. He thinks he's fucking succeeded.
Let's fucking the elevator.
He's like, no, I don't want him.
I just fucked my auntie. Yeah, he didn't give a fuck. He's smashed. And that is the secret of his success. So yeah, they arrive at the board meeting, absolutely fucking changed off their faces.
Speculation.
The auntie, the secretary.
Unsubstantiated. Something that wasn't mentioned all the way throughout, which was a great little twist at the end, was that the company actually belonged to the father of Brantley's auntie. So she said that she was able, with her backers there, some of the rich guys who he'd wooed at the party, who actually did some really convincing sort of I'm impressed faces. Did anybody notice that? The one guy, he was really thinking about the numbers.
Crunching them like.
He was, there and then. So anyway, they've decided to come in and they've basically bought 5% of the hostile company.
I think they've actually got 51% of the opposite company.
Well, she said she had 50.1.
They'd flip the hostile takeover on him.
Exactly.
I was left a tad confused by that.
That's because you set 4 in maths.
It was slew. I couldn't figure out at the end whether or not they had sold the company.
No. They'd taken over Herman Munster's company, Munster Inc.
Instead of being bought out, they owned a majority of the other company.
Yeah, because it was her family's company. She's got enough stock to control the entire company now, and fires her husband.
She gets rid of Frankie Baby
from Home
He's
Alone.
Not cooking anymore.
And she puts this 24-year-old coke addict,
farmer,
Kansas City
farming,
drug addict, sex offender.
You've added that bit. Sex offender.
Well, and she puts him in charge of the entire company.
And his missus and the man who works in the mail room, who obviously slings crack cocaine.
But then,
for a living.
During this moment of euphoria, she falls in love with Melrose.
She does, yeah, but they're quite a good couple, though. I thought they would suit each other.
But that's when he turns into a fucking yuppie because he's got his little ponytail. He's got his like,
tux.
No, I'm not having it.
I see them. I can see them two working. I think that's good. I think that was good. I like that bit. My wife liked that bit. She was like, "Oh, they're a good couple." I was like, "Yeah."
He didn't have a big part, but the parts he did, he was quite believable.
Yes,
and quite fun. So you kind of do wish him well, don't you?
Yeah. So yeah, they're now in charge of the company, and the film sort of plays underneath the credits.
I watched the credits.
It's a bit like, you know, the story goes long, doesn't it? And they have a snog on some stairs.
Oh, he looks sharp as fuck on there, doesn't he? He's got a pair of like fucking white high tops on, like, and he's got his suit on.
But it's like the same as his shoes from Back to the Future. He was He was a Nike boy. His Back to the Future 2, they were high top Nikes, power laces.
Well, you know, in that final kiss, he's sat up on top of that thing. Well, throughout the film, because he was so short and she was so tall, they have to find interesting ways.
I was going to say, he is tiny in it.
He's
when he's,
tiny
when
in
he's
it.
walking next to his uncle, he is tiny.
He just a little guy.
You know the bit where his uncle's got him and they're having dinner? Well, that what passes for a dinner. And they're
So
sat
it was like some asparagus and a fucking aubergine.
it was a very yuppie dinner, wasn't it?
It wasn't even that. It was like the prop department that said make some fancy looking food, and they just cut some vegetables out and they put it on a plate. So I wasn't buying
He
that.
can't eat a lot when he's off his head on coke.
No, you got no appetite.
He tried a bean spray, I noticed that.
He's like, that was dry.
What I thought about the ending was, alright, it's cheesy, but let's face it, that ship's fucking sailed. We know the film's cheesy. But wouldn't it have just been better if it cut and like zoomed back out and there was like a private jet outside the farmhouse?
That would have been a better ending, yeah.
And it didn't say why or whatever, you just knew it was his and he'd fulfilled his dream. I thought the end was a bit like, hi mum, yeah, I'm great.
That would have been a better ending.
I feel like there wasn't a great deal of thought going into a lot of what went on in that film.
No.
To be honest, I don't think the guy who directed that was close to thinking that at all. Like,
no, he just wanted to make some sort of sex film, didn't he?
He padded it out with montages, fucking borderline rape.
It was a long film as well. It was nearly 2 hours long.
Yeah, he's like, let's have this close up of these lips.
That was pretty like.
Yeah,
I mean, it was sexy.
It was
racy.
It was
racy. It got my heart pounding.
Yeah.
Were you engorged?
Like I said, it was like a sex offender directed Ferris Bueller. That's what it felt like.
He would have been good at Ferris Bueller as well, wouldn't he, Michael J.
He would have been great, yeah. I do like the 80s smarmy wisecrackers, you know what I mean? You got your Michael J. Fox's.
Wisecrackers?
The wisecrackers, yes.
Is that like the Beastie Boys? Like?
It is. Well, that'd be a great name for it. Be like, your Chevy Chases, your...
Steve Guttenberg?
Steve Guttenberg, of course, yes. I can't believe we haven't had a Gutenberg yet, have we? Crop up in this.
You want to have a look at my Gutenberg?
It's a great euphemism for Gutenberg.
It would just be the high tower, like.
That'd be the tackleberry.
I'm gonna have a sweet chuck. Yeah, so that's kind of the film, and I don't know, I did enjoy it, but I feel like if you cut out some of that weirdness and some of the creepiness, I would have enjoyed it a lot more. I think it's aged really badly in that respect.
It has aged badly. I think it had aged badly when it came out. You consider it's like 1987. It felt like a much earlier 80s film.
Well, interestingly, when it came out, a lot of the critics at the time said about that, and they said it felt like a film from the 50s that was written in the 50s that they've made now. So that was, even at that time, they did pick that up. But obviously, this was after Back to the Future, wasn't it? So it would have been some real hot shit at the box office.
It was a 12 million budget, and it took 111 million at the box office.
Fucking hell.
It outgrossed RoboCop, Predator, Lethal Weapon, and Dirty Dancing in 1987.
Nobody puts baby in a corner.
Fucking hell!
Dirty Dancing surprises me.
Yeah, I wouldn't have thought Dirty Dancing, because obviously the other ones, obviously they're absolute classics now, but they're like 18s and shit. But
I saw a documentary about films from the 80s. It was building up to Dirty Dancing, and they were like, people fucking went to see it like 5 times in a row.
Yeah,
I mean, that was a fucking big film.
Yeah.
To outdo with this film. That's shocking.
Yeah, well, it's Michael J. Fox, isn't it? He's riding high off that.
Family Ties.
Family Ties. Never seen that, but so obviously that was a big show and huge in America. Just on Back to the Future, he would have been a huge Hollywood draw for it, wouldn't
I think he had to take time off Family Ties to do Back to the Future, or he filmed them simultaneously, I think I remember.
And this was filmed in between the series, the same as Back to the Future. When he was doing Back to the Future, I think they were filming at night, weren't they?
I think they filmed didn't they film all the Back to the Futures simultaneously?
No,
they filmed the last two.
Yeah.
Is it the last two?
Yeah.
I was going to say, hang on, we've got too many simultaneously going on here. How many films can one man make?
He's a very busy guy in the 80s. There's not really many other 80s stars in it, is there? Really?
There's a cameo of Cindy Crawford in the montage at the beginning.
Yes. At the beginning, when he's in the city and he's just like looking at the city, and it's just like, oh, well, there's, like a really attractive office lady walking down the road, and there's another one. He's looking at about 6 different ones, like, and just sort of staring at them.
Leaning on the post box doing like some eyebrows.
Yeah.
He's like.
He's creepy as shit, man. Imagine trying to do that now, Although maybe in the years before sort of Tinder and all that was what you had to do in the 80s. You can believe this 5'0" sort of boyish lad could actually bed a lot of women because of how charming he was and his sort of like, so yeah. He does pull it off really well. He's just a star, isn't he, Michael J. Fox? The best thing about the film.
Well, judging by those numbers as well, like, can't believe it fucking outdid Dirty Dancing, whatever. That's crazy.
It wasn't a famous director or anything for this, was it, as far as I'm aware? Well, if it was, let us know in the comments, because maybe it's something we all missed out on. Okay, should we get to the scores? What would you rate this film out of 10 now you've come back to it?
Well, I've heard some stuff today that makes me think about it now, and I'm like, I saw it and I didn't think too much of these scenes that you've been questioning. I mean, but it's dead right, but I just take it for what it is. So it's going to lose a point though, because to age, you've got to predict what people might want to see. And, it's kind of like make a slasher, like, gory cut your throat open and see it all happen movie, because it's like if you're looking for that kind of thing. Oh fuck, I don't know where I'm going with this.
I was really curious as to where you were going.
In my head, I was thinking about the original point. I was like, anyway.
What fucking score is he going to give it? It's just wondering for the score, mate. Tell me how much. What do you reckon out of 10?
Yeah. So it's going to lose a point for its mad sexism, but I still like it.
I like it!
I'm giving it an 8.
Fucking hell.
Wow.
I'm giving it an 8.
Wow.
It's a good Michael J. Fox film,
Yeah.
and like you said, he makes it.
You think it's
And
better than The Thing?
It's more my kind of film.
Well, I suppose.
I mean, I called it how I saw it. If it was anybody else, would it be as good? I don't know. But he's very watchable in this kind of character, and it made the whole thing enjoyable for me. And it stands up to what I remember. A lot of the top comments and topic need to be updated, but it is what it is. It's done now. But just for what it is, yeah, solid 8, I reckon.
All right. Ow.
Yeah, so I was going to give it a 7, but like
Ooh.
after the discussion we've had, I'm knocking a bit off.
Oh,
Yeah.
Because I found myself getting quite bored watching it.
Mm-hmm.
And I just thought, Michael J. Fox is great to watch, but sometimes I couldn't really distance myself from the sort of Back to the Future thing. I know that sounds ridiculous, like, it was just very odd. It's aged terribly. There's a lot of, like, borderline rapey shit in it.
Yeah.
So I think about
So
a
that-
6. I did want to give it a 7, like, because I do remember watching it and it was great fun.
Yeah.
I remember, but like, I don't know,
Yeah.
didn't enjoy it this time. It's not like, you know, I mean,
It's out of place, isn't it? It's all,
yeah,
all
it's
of that
just
stuff
very
is
odd, very
decent,
odd.
right. Lee, what do you reckon?
Well, I was like Al, when I was coming here, I was thinking, well, 7, but I don't know if I could give it a 6. I might have to give it a 6.5, I reckon. Maybe. But yeah, it's just for the same thing. It felt dated from the start. I mean, I did laugh out loud quite a lot all the way through it, but it was just odd. It was an odd film that dated badly, that had some funny bits in.
Yeah.
Did your wife manage not to narrate?
She's a big fan of it.
Is she? That's interesting.
She's seen it lots when she was younger, and she was like, "Oh, it's really good." And
Because that's quite an interesting balance. You've never seen it.
No.
She's probably like me. She's seen it very young and probably quite a while ago. So,
Yeah.
right, you are the paradox. It's like, what do you reckon watching it for the first time?
What did she think of the sort of like sexism in it now that she sort of came back to?
We
Because
didn't-
it is kind of
didn't
cool.
really talk about it.
No.
That's what I mean.
I just said I'm probably not going to watch that film again, and that was it. We went to bed.
I do feel like that's the thing, is that if you were, unfortunately, you can't help it if you were born in that era. I mean, obviously the comedy in that film must outweigh all the sexist bits, because I don't remember it for being sleazy. I remember it for being funny, and I just wonder if my feeling marred now by watching it and being impressionable. But good, it never come across as a kid as being like, ugh.
Yeah, no, same here, because I'd seen it as a kid and really, really enjoyed it and had fond memories of it.
Yeah.
And all that weirdness in it, are just sort of like...
The thing is, a lot
everyone's
of-
consenting generally in it, apart from the odd bit of Michael J. Fox on that.
Early 80s stuff is weird though. So if when you were little, you didn't realise that it was weird. You just thought that's what grown up stuff was. So you didn't think it was weird. It's only when you're older, like that was a bit weird actually.
Yeah, a lot of it I just feel it just was edited weirdly or directed weirdly, so a lot of those bits fell sort of flat. But there are some really funny bits in it, and I think Michael J. Fox's performance in it, he's brilliant. He's just very, very watchable, isn't he? He's at the top of his game there.
Yeah.
So it's easy to.
To me, I thought it was a B movie anyway.
It felt like a B movie, didn't it?
Yeah,
did.
yeah.
Well, it
did.
wasn't like a 12 million budget.
Yeah.
Would have
No,
just
it was
aged sort
old
of
enough.
badly, wouldn't it? But it's not mentioned as much because it's not as timeless as other stuff.
No, something like Ferris Bueller. Do you know what I mean? That's like aged so well. It could be made now and is undoubtedly a classic. But yeah, there's too much in this, I feel, which has aged very badly or was executed badly, and I think would have been a shit at the time.
By the budget and the director's obsession with lips and stuff like that, you could see he wasn't trying to make a masterpiece. It wasn't.
he should have been.
I just thought it could have been funnier as
Yeah.
well. You could forgive it for a lot of stuff if it was funnier.
Some of the jokes.
I don't know.
were
I bet.
Yeah,
Yeah,
some
there's
of it,
a couple
some
of
of it
moments,
was funny,
yeah.
And for the profit it made, I bet like the director was well in with everybody. It was fucking whatever. The film made $100 million.
I'm going to give it 5.5.
Ooh.
And that is purely pretty much all just for Michael J. Fox, really. Just being good in it and very watchable. So that is our rating of that. But I would advise, if you're interested in it, go and watch
If you like Michael J. Fox films,
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
it's-
he definitely. I mean, the thing was, is like, can you really say that he took a turn to a different direction? Because I mean, Back to the Future, when he took it, was just a film, and it could have so much been about something else. But like, I kept thinking, oh, he went into the, Doc Hollywood, and
He played a lot of yuppies, didn't he? And sort of like those rags to riches
yeah,
sort of stories.
exactly.
He
And
took
it was
a lot
like,
of his stuff.
did he change his style, or was it just Back to the Future was just a fluke, and we just judge him by it now? But really, it was just another film he did that just got so big. This is what I mean. Is when
Well, that's what
when we
propelled
talked
him,
about
isn't
him,
it, into
when I-
stardom?
when I said earlier that his other films are mediocre, I don't mean they're shit, but it is like when you think Michael J. Fox, you can't help but think Back to the Future.
Yeah.
And yet that is kind of what defines him now. Every other film he does is
Well,
a
he's
bit
done
like,
a lot of Scrubs, do you know what I mean? He's
Well, I imagine he's had his choice of films, but he does gravitate more towards TV.
Yeah, he hasn't done really a great deal of big films, really, has he?
No, he hasn't.
He
When I
hasn't,
looked him
has
up,
he?
it's like, you get 3 lines down and they're like, what is that? I've never heard of it.
Frighteners is brilliant.
It's fucking awesome.
Yeah, Frighteners is great.
Yeah.
It's great.
Great film.
But
And
then-
totally
yeah,
open for a sequel.
Teen Wolf's good.
Teen Wolf, Doc Hollywood's, Back to the Futures. I would struggle to find 10 films that I've seen him in.
Yeah.
But the 3 Back to the Future films are 3 of the greatest films ever made, aren't they?
yeah,
So,
yeah.
do you know what I mean? I think he had that very unfortunate thing of like his first franchise or whatever he was in, he was so big.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And I think there's certain people that if you're in a big franchise, that look at Mark Hamill, Macaulay Culkin. Do you know what I mean? I think if you're in something that big, that's how you come to people. Sometimes it's hard to.
But I think he's quite reclusive as well, isn't it? So he's done quite well because he hasn't really been categorised by the media or by people as being like a wild child or anything like that. He just went sort of radio silent, so he's maintained his sort of dignity. It's kind of like, you know, and
that Tom Hanks good guy sort of, you'd like to meet him when
exactly. Yeah, you don't think of Tom Hanks and go, oh, I mean, you might go Forrest Gump.
Oh,
but you know, he's not any one of his characters.
You know, if you met Michael J. Fox, you would lose your shit, wouldn't you? You'd like, you go to pieces. But and we've got to talk about it, I guess. Have you seen from a few years ago the footage of him and Christopher Lloyd together?
It's fucking terrible.
And it's just so like it's beautiful and lovely to see them together, but it's also heartbreaking because you remember him from the movie as this young teenage lad, I mean, primary, and then to see them both now so old is heartbreaking.
It's brilliant. It's the production of it's freaking amazing. But it's just like Christopher Lloyd just gets out of the DeLorean. I think he like has to get a prompt on his first line or something.
Yeah,
he's just like 20 seconds. He's like.
He's like the oldest man there's ever been.
He wears it well. He looks like the oldest man there's ever been. But then, like, you know, you've got Michael J. Fox, like, sort of, a bit shaky as well. It's but
I'm sure one day we will come on to the Back to the Future films at some point. But at the moment, we're delving into deeper places of the 80s. New shoes. So that's our scores then for this one. We said, you go and watch it if you want. It's not a classic, but it's it's not a waste of your time to watch it. Right, so now we've got to go on to next week's film. So it was my turn, and I was given the year 1985.
1985.
And man, Jesus Christ, that's good. Talking about Back to the Future, obviously Back to the Future came out in that year. Goonies, there's a million amazing films.
1 million amazing films.
Wow.
I sure wouldn't want to be you right now.
There was a lot of amazing films to look through. Oh man, I was so like sort of
turned on.
Yeah. After watching Secret of My Success, but yeah, it was so hard this one. I got down to like 3 and then narrowed it down to 2. But I've decided to go a film that I don't think I've ever spoke to any of you guys about this film. I'm a big fan of it as a kid. I haven't seen it in like about 25 years or something, maybe even longer than that.
The anticipation is killing me.
I know where he's going with this.
I don't know if any of you have seen it.
I know.
I think it's really, really good. Right, sci-fi film. Enjoying the side, but yeah, it's Enemy Mine.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
I don't know where you were going with that.
Has anyone seen that one?
Yeah.
I'll tell you next week.
Will you? And yeah, it's Enemy Mine. If you're following this along at home, try and watch this before the next episode, and then you can see whether you agreed with us or not. Right, okay, so yeah, you might have noticed that what we've been doing is we've been going through the entire decade, and every time we get a year, we knock it out. So we're trying to get through all of them, and that will be our season. So I'm going to put it into the random number generator now. We're going to generate Lee's year.
Generator math.
What are we looking for, Lee?
88!
It's 88!
That was the one you wanted.
Well, I actually wanted 87, but yeah, 88 will do, I guess. I'll be happy with any of the rest.
What would you have gone for in 87?
Maybe you'll find out next season, Tarper.
What a
Cool.
tease.
All right then, guys. So Enemy Mine is the film for next week. So yeah, thank you very much for listening, and goodbye.
Bye.
Goodbye, everybody.
Goodbye.
Bye.
I just fucked my auntie. Yeah.